I love budgeting and I'm a ginormous budget nerd. Once I discovered budgeting, it was transformational in my life. So whenever I meet someone who is even a little into budgeting or knows what the heck an envelope system is, I'm already in love. So let me introduce today's guest, Erika Aviña of Prosperity Planning.
How are you?
I'm so delighted that you're here with me today on Inspector Mama.
Yes, I'm so excited to be on your podcast and share some budgeting tips with all of your followers.
Tell me, Erika, what inspired you to become a finance coach and launch Prosperity Planning?
Yes, I get that question all the time. So when I was on maternity leave with my second baby, I really struggled with the thought of having to send her off to daycare and returning to work. What would that look like? And just being financially prepared to make those decisions. I know for so many moms, it's like 1 in 4 send their kid back after 4 to 6 weeks. So they don't even have true maternity benefits. And that just breaks my heart that you can't even have the time at home. So fortunately, I didn't have the maternity benefit at my workplace, but in California, we have the short-term disability. So I was able to extend my time off by using some of the state programs, but you're not getting a full paycheck. And so now when I hear and see of people expecting, it's always, are you financially prepared to make that adjustment of welcoming a child, but also how that impacts your financial future? And I'm just so passionate about helping women learn about financial literacy, whether that's budgeting, paying off debt, planning for the future. It's a topic that we were never taught in school. And a lot of women walk around with shame and guilt, and they just don't even want to. Talking about money is stressful for them. And so I really enjoy working with women and help to coach them and just create systems and processes to help them streamline their budgeting systems so that they can finally change their money mindset.
That's so true. I'm a planner. I like to plan my whole entire life. I have contingency plans for contingency plans. I knew I wanted to have a baby one day. So when I was working as a health inspector at the health department, I saved for 7 years all of my vacation and my sick leave because I knew that when I had a baby, I wanted to be at home with my baby for as long as I could. I was able to take the 3 months off and then come back to work. In that 3-month period of my maternity leave, that's where Inspector Mama was born. So I was not planning for Inspector Mama. I never thought I'd have a business. But when I had my human baby, it just sparked this whole new life. It was really transformational. And then, of course, the budgeting that came with all of that. I think one of the things that people really don't realize is how money does change when you have a baby and your priorities shift. And your priorities will change, but you'll always have money for the things you want.
Oh, yeah, your priorities change. And I have found so many other mompreneurs just by launching Prosperity Planning. I had no idea what I was getting into. Just started an Instagram page and working one-on-one with clients. And again, I find so many others by doing collaborations, connecting with other moms. There is just such a strong community of women building small businesses on the side or stay-at-home moms that they still have wonderful skill sets. If we could only just continue building and helping people be able to sell whatever it is, their products, their passion projects. I see people use those Cricut machines and they're printing shirts and coffee mugs. There's just so many things, photography, that you could really be working. I know there's a time commitment, but again, to be able to make some money while still having the option of watching your kids and raising your kids, It's just the workplace, the whole 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. It just doesn't work for moms. Who wants to drop their kid off at 7 in the morning and then pick up at 6 p.m. to see your kids for 1 hour at night? It's like dinner, bath, and put them to bed. The whole COVID and work from home gave us some more flexibility and options, but I know not everybody has that. So it just breaks my heart when I see that families have to make that decision of either two working parent household or they have to really cut back so that the mom can stay home and watch the babies.
Tell me about the Budget Bestie toolkit.
Yeah, so super excited. I've always had a toolkit, but my friend Joanna is working on her marketing degree. So my bestie connected with me in April and we really sat down and revamped our toolkit. So it's a 30-page guide and it covers everything from money mindset, uh, how to actually start a budget, for people who have tried budgeting or have tried different apps and it just didn't work for them or it was stressful. We share best practices on how to check in on your expenses and the line items or the expenses that you're not even thinking about, right? It's those things you're putting in your Amazon cart, all of those Target runs, TJ Maxx, it's those little things that can still add up. Or there's subscriptions. I know a lot of people cut out cable for a few years, but then they start adding apps. So once you have the apps for YouTube TV and Netflix and Disney, all those things add up too. So it's really getting a hone in on what are my total expenses? What are my family values? Where should we be spending? And the toolkit just offers so much more. So we cover debt and the different ways to start paying down debt. There's a snowball debt tracker in there, meal planning. So I have found by working with clients that generally the most expensive expense is your housing, whether that's rent or mortgage. For some, it's car payments, but the next one is generally food. So whether that's your groceries, eating out, the coffee runs, those are generally your top three expenses. So if you can't change your rent or mortgage payment, if you're locked into a car, a loan or a lease, then the next thing you really can control is your food budget. So I offer a lot of best practices on what works for my family. And let's see, there's a SMART goal worksheet. So, creating financial goals. I've also found that when you write down your goals, so I have a vision board that I made in 2023. So, it's been here on my board, and I can literally check off all but our last goal. And so, by having something visual or written down that you can go back and look at, I have found that helps clients stick to their budget.
I'll tell you my budget confession. It is that I am too in the weeds and I can really overcomplicate it. Even I get lost sometimes and I really have to pull myself back out. And then my husband, I might be able to get 3 to 5 minutes of his attention. We're like completely opposite when it comes to budgeting, where he just wants an overview. He doesn't think about it, and I'm like, "How can you not think about it?" It consumes my whole life. Have you ever had a client or what advice would you give me?
Are you looking back at bank statements and then budgeting, or are you tracking with a budget app in real time?
So what I do is I use my bank statements to balance my ledger.
Okay.
So I make sure everything is accounted for. I have a budget, which food, lifestyle, etc.
Yeah.
I like to take out $500 cash. That goes into my envelopes, and then everything else is, like, on autopilot, and that's the only way I feel comfortable and secure, and then I don't stress about the budget. I have an expense tracker, so make sure that my expense trackers are matching the goals I had set in that budget.
That's perfect. And you have a system, and if it works for you, I'd stick to it. If you're finding that it takes too much time to go back and look through those bank statements, I would recommend trying a budgeting app. You plug those numbers into the app, and then throughout the month, as you're spending, it will either know that, hey, you went to Starbucks, that must go to the food budget. Or if it starts to see names of vendors or dry cleaning or wherever you get your hair done, and it doesn't know where to put it, it will ask you to please review this transaction and park it into the right category. So that's where you interact with the app. Tell clients as you're getting used to budgeting and updating an app, check in with it frequently, and then put yourself on a once a week or again, whatever works for you. But as you're learning a new tool and how to communicate with it, it's all the AI stuff that's new and out there available to all of us. So you just use it and it will get used to the types of purchases you're making and it will alert you. So, like today's the 30th of the month. If you're already over a budget or you've maxed out, it will tell you, please review your kid activity budget as you are $5 over. So it's those alerts that make you, again, it's awareness. Like, what is on my social calendar for the month? How do I plan for the unexpected things? By checking in with your budget in real time, it helps you to change your behaviors for the rest of the month or reallocate your budget so that you're not looking back at bank statements that you are not able to change your behavior to close out the month and ensure that you're on track for your budget.
What app is this?
So I like Monarch Money. I can send you the link because you'll get your first month free to try it out. And you can also plug in some of your financial goals. Whatever you give it, hey, I bank at these places, or these are my credit cards. Here's my 401ks. Then it will tell you your overall net worth. If you tell it your retirement goal is X, and that's another thing that I always work with clients is figuring out what your fire number is. So you take your overall expenses and figure out what they are for the year. You multiply that by 25. It's financial independence, retire early. So retirement is not a number, like an age that you're trying to get to. It really is a dollar amount. If you can work toward knowing what your budget is, seeing what your expenses are, and then plan toward your fire number, then it's work optional. There's so many people in this younger generation that really focused on gig work or working from vacation locations where they can just have remote job opportunities. They are all about not buying a home, but hitting their retirement goals and then having more consulting gigs instead of the standard 9 to 5.
I love that. That was actually one of my reasons for starting Inspector Mama because, especially being a government employee, it was very strict 8 to 5, and there was no flexibility to pick up my child from school. Do you have a client story that you could share of a really big win that they had and you were just so proud of them?
Yeah, I have a couple. I've had clients that looked at just their regular debt. How would you pay this off if you did nothing? Continue to pay minimum payments. And it really pushes out to 12, 15 years. And I'm talking credit card debt at 20 to 25%. So when I've worked with them and showed them how the snowball method works and apply that extra $50 to the lowest balance. And once you've chipped away at that one, now you can take not only the extra 50, but whatever that minimum payment was, let's say is $100. Now you've paid off credit card number one. They feel that excitement, their first win. And now you roll over that 150 to the second card. And it literally is that snowball of you're seeing your debt be chipped away. And so we were able to take credit card debt that was 12 or 15 years out and help them pay it off in 7 years. So save them tons of money and interest, but really it's the freedom of not having the debt. So many people do that for concert tickets and vacations. And I've heard that's going to start reporting on credit reports. So what people thought was just not free money, but it just was unreported, that's now going to negatively impact either their score or when they're getting ready to go out and buy a home. It will factor into their debt to income ratio. So, just an overall awareness of what your debt is. Let's just peel off the band aid, show you how long it's going to take to pay it off if you did nothing different, and then use either the debt snowball or the avalanche method to just have a strategic game plan in how you pay it off. So, have definitely had some big wins on credit card debt. I've also helped clients buy their first home. But if your new mortgage payment is going to be $4,000, it is so important to give yourself that time, adjust your budget for the mortgage payment before you get into the mortgage, and even things like utilities. And do you need a gardener now? Do you have an HOA? All those other expenses. Maybe your utilities are going to be more expensive. So, just working with people early on to adjust the budget for what the future budget is going to look like. That's been a big one. And then my final win is I've had a client who had a just a rental property where I think she was collecting 36,000 a year, so 3,000 a month, and she'd been doing it for over 10, 15 years. We transitioned that property to a short-term rental. She now brings in over $80,000 a year. It is a game changer on Airbnb. Of course, it's by the beach, so it's a beautiful property. But again, I work with different clients of all ages, demographics, and net worth.
What challenges do you notice most often among the women you serve? And how do you help them shift that?
Generally, it's sticking to what they say they want to do, right? So initial conversation is, I'm ready, let's do it. Think of it as like working out with a trainer versus you going to the gym and doing it on your own. So a lot of people will be excited up front, but then when the real work happens of, okay, it's time to roll up your sleeves, let's really look at the numbers, or how do we change that behavior? So I have found that a lot of times people are spending money when they're bored, they're lonely, they're stressed. So it's again figuring out how to, it's like the psychology of money. I always recommend that people read that book because it helps you again identify what your triggers are and then how to adjust. So instead of saying, oh, I'm so stressed out, I've got to go to TJ Maxx where I'll probably spend $100 on things that maybe I need, maybe I don't, household stuff or candles or stuff for the kids, or how can I go out for a walk? Maybe I need to put on some relaxing music to just figure out what has me so stressed and really working through those things first. And everybody has a money story. So it depends on how you were raised. Was money talked in your household? I'm a first generation Latina where my parents did not go to college. So we were not having money conversations. I was raised by a single mom, seeing my mom work multiple jobs to just make sure that we were taken care of and that we had enough. We didn't know or see it back then, but now as a mom myself and looking back, my goodness, my mom was probably struggling just to sign us up for cheer or to have us be involved in outside activities. Everyone has their own money story. And depending on if you're able to identify what those triggers are and know that it's okay to feel a little stressed and you just didn't know. But the biggest thing I always recommend is you have to start somewhere. Take action, even if it feels uncomfortable. Look at those numbers, whether it's looking at a bank statement or getting the app. You need to have awareness of where you're spending and what is making you spend. And even the meal planning, if you could take the time to pre plan what the week looks like. My meal planning is a whiteboard calendar. And you better believe there are days that say we are eating out because I can't physically cook every single day with both my husband and I being working parents. And then I have my passion project on the side. Your social calendar, you have to factor that in. Otherwise, you won't commit to the goals that you're setting. You've just got to start somewhere, see what works for your family, and then adjust as needed. Give yourself grace for saying, hey, I planned chicken, but I forgot to take it out of the freezer. We're not having chicken tonight. Be okay with those quick audibles and celebrate the small wins that you are achieving and where you see that, oh, I was going to go to Target, but now I'm not. Make sure you celebrate those too, because that's what will encourage you to stick to the game plan. Any habit, right? It takes 21 days of consistently practicing to make that behavioral change.
That's a great reminder. What's one easy budgeting tip that anyone could try right now, right this week?
I would say whatever you have in your shopping cart, wait 24 hours before you actually check out.
Would you like to know what's in my shopping cart?
Yes, tell us.
Okay, Instagram got me, and I have these magnetic lashes in my shopping cart because I cannot do the traditional with the lash glue. I
Yeah,
cannot
I can't either.
I cannot do it. But I see all these women with these beautiful eyelashes. I'm like, I want them too.
You left them in there. Now you can still decide if you really need them. Or I just use an eyelash curler and then I throw on my mascara. The other thing I'd say is even with Target or Walmart, if you use the option of drive up pickup, so really just put the things in your cart that you absolutely need and do not walk through the store. I have found that too because they're so good at product merchandising and placement. They know how to get you to walk through their stores. So again, stick to the items you really need and do the drive up pickup.
I heard that some of these retail stores have some really high-end technology. It's not just for theft prevention, but they study you. They study where your
Yes.
eyeballs are, where you're
Yeah.
actually looking. Like that is
Product placement, the way that they put the little items right in the front, like they are trying to get you to grab a couple more things that you were not planning on buying.
Do you have any advice for dealing with unexpected expenses or setbacks?
Yeah. So I have had quite a few clients deal with life stuff. Like it just happens, right? So whether somebody gets ill in the family, they're not able to work, there's added cost for treatments, car problems, from always needing new tires or a major car repair, or you really just need to get a new car. What's the other one? Job loss. So when someone is let go and you just weren't expecting it, it's so important to start thinking about an emergency fund. And again, whatever dollar amount you can start with is key. But the real goal is to get 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses saved. So if it costs $5,000 to run your household, you would want at least $15,000. So that's the starting point. If you can double that and get the 6 months, that's even better. It's great to put it in like a high yield savings somewhere where it is still earning some interest, not really invested. You don't want to risk the money either, but just building that emergency fund. Again, it's all for in case of emergency, but even like a homeowner, you could have a plumbing problem, you could need new sinks, new bathrooms, all of those things add up over time. Or if it's a rainy season, you have a roof that's starting to leak. If you have those emergencies come up and you have to always rely on a credit card, it just, again, takes so much longer to pay off. And yes, credit cards, great if, again, know how to use them. Sometimes there's great credit card rewards or a 0% interest if you're buying this product and you have 24 months to pay it off. You can still use credit. It's just being smart about it, or the credit card points if you're going to use it to buy gift cards and then you're using those as gifts throughout the year, or to apply those rewards to a future vacation for your family. Definitely still ways to use credit cards. You just don't want to always have to rely on them. Or if you're not budgeting and you're constantly living on credit cards because you can't even make it to the next paycheck without having to rely on credit, that would be a perfect example of, hey, let's get you started to see where you really spending your money, and it's the awareness first, and then say, okay, we've got to get a budget that works for you. Let's start those automatic transfers. So when you get paid, if you can send $50, $100, any amount to a savings account that is strictly for your future emergency fund or your sinking funds, right? Like for some people, they know that at Christmas they spend, setting up that automatic transfer to start saving so that you're not coming to January with this huge credit card bill of all of these gifts that you didn't really need to spend that much on, and really just sticking to a list. Who do you buy for? What do you spend on each person? How many white elephant games or secret Santas are you hosting? Do you need to buy the main meal? Like all those things end up adding up. And so if you're not thinking about those, I'd encourage you to get started on what are those annual expenses, kids' birthdays, parties, anything else that you don't have in your everyday monthly budget, but they still come up every year. And now you can start planning for those too.
Yeah, I love that plan. Let me ask you a few questions. Are you an envelope person or a digital app person?
I am both. How are we doing for the month? Checking in on the date, where are we at? But then I also love the envelope method because that's what I do for our Christmas spending. And it's so nice to then see, yep, I said I was going to put this amount away each month. And come December, here's my cash envelope.
Savings first or debt first?
I always recommend both because you could be saving and investing and paying off debt at the same time. It's not a you must do one thing, check off the box, then move over to the other. And especially people that have a 401k match, that's free money that your employer is offering you. So I always recommend to make sure that you are signed up, that the money is actually invested and it's not just sitting in a cash account. And yeah, you can have this game plan to save toward retirement, save toward emergency fund, all the while you're also paying down debt. So just having that debt payoff plan is important, but knowing that yes, you can still do saving and investing at the same time.
I love that because I like to have my cake and eat it too. I want the whole cake. What is your favorite, either a money podcast or a book, or what's your favorite money thing?
Yeah, so there's a podcast, I believe it's called the Rich Money Podcast. It's an older gentleman and a younger. And so it's so great because they talk about the different generations and they cover so many topics. So from budgeting to real estate. But then for a book, I love The Psychology of Money. I highly recommend that to all my clients because, again, it helps you to realize you don't want to have that feeling of, oh, we're just trying to keep up with the Joneses and the neighbor has a new car, so we need a new car. And that lady has a new purse, so I need a new purse. Nobody cares what you're driving and what you're wearing. So you just have to get over that yourself and then really commit to, hey, we're cutting back or we're going to start budgeting so that our family can have financial freedom. And once you really see the light that you can get there, when I show people what their fire number is, a lot of them are blown away because it might be $1 million. And for others, it could be as much as $3 million. But when I'm able to say, let's look at everything in big picture here, hey, you're at 50% of your goal. So maybe that only means another 10 years of true working employment and you'll hit that number. So if podcasts are for you, tune in a podcast, push the stroller, go for a walk. That's generally when I'm able to listen in. But podcasts have been like incredibly life changing for me personally, even on the real estate side. I help people with budgeting, but I'm ready for that next step and getting into our first short term rental. I can just see it coming to fruition. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but for sure by next year.
Oh, how exciting. Is it going to be near the beach?
We're like a in between the beach and the mountains.
Huh?
So either the San Diego area or Lake Arrowhead.
Do you have any upcoming offers or tools or any other exciting projects you're working on?
Yeah, so our budget bestie toolkit just launched. I'm doing my first ever live training where I go through the whole guide with the women that purchased the toolkit. So, this is our first official offer with a live training option. The toolkit will always continue to be available. The toolkit on its own is $20, so very affordable. I want to be able to help more women achieve their financial goals. And so this toolkit is just everything that I have done with my coaching clients, all my best practices into one guide so that women can just pick it up, download it, start working on these tips for their own families. DM me. I actually respond. But we also have a $7 option where it's a 7-day financial reset challenge. So, again, it's still a download. There's a group chat feature as well. I really am working on trying to build a community of women who want to achieve their financial goals. And what better than to have other women in similar situations with stories that you can all cheer each other on. Financial coaching is your accountability partner, but I want to celebrate those wins when people are achieving their financial goals, paying off debt, buying their first home, having their first child. So, yeah, Budget Bestie Toolkit. And you can follow me on Instagram at Prosperity Planning.
Very cool. So, parting final words for this podcast episode. What message would you share with someone who feels overwhelmed by their finances?
I always tell people you just have to get started. It's rip the band aid off, look at your real numbers. I never want to see fake numbers. I can always tell when I say, "Oh, how much do you guys spend on groceries and eating out?" And when they can't tell me right away, or they'll just say $500. I know that's probably not realistic, especially with today's cost of food and eating out. So just know your real numbers. There's two things to adjust your budget. It's either cut back on your expenses or increase your income. And so that's where I've seen so many mompreneurs start these side hustles, passion projects. They are really able to add more income to their family household. It's just by getting started, by sharing stuff that you like. There's so many ways to get paid now on the different social media sites. It's really just getting started, but knowing your numbers and then having that, okay, we've got to write down a couple financial goals or do a vision board, something that is going to keep you motivated on the days where budgeting is hard. And you have an accountability partner, your spouse, someone that can sit down and say, we're in this. And like you said, your spouse doesn't have a lot of time to connect. So find other things that maybe you're going for a walk and you say, hey, today I'd like to talk about a couple of financial goals. Or maybe it's when you're having your first cup of coffee, whatever works for you. And you're going to have to adjust because I've had some stay at home moms that tell me I have no visibility into the budget. I don't know what things cost. I don't know our finances, don't know retirement, any of that. He takes care of everything. And so that's a little risky when you just have no visibility. You've got to start having these conversations.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast. All the links will be below. And I hope that you all reach out and start working on your budget and get that financial freedom. Because at the end of the day, I think the American dream is having the freedom to do whatever you want.